What do CEOs need to know about sales these days? A lot. Outdated sales strategies and tactics plague most companies today. Listen to what innovative CEOs and experts have to say about how to change all that with Sales Talk for CEOs. Welcome to Sales Talk for CEOs. I am so glad you're here today. I have a very special guest. Amanda Kahlow is a 3 times founder and category creator. You've probably heard of Sixth Sense, and you're starting to hear about One Mind because Mindy is out there blowing our minds, but we'll talk more about that in a minute. The story today is so important to me because not only is it about Amanda being one of the less than 1% of female tech founders and her company going on to be a unicorn, last valued at 5.2 billion. It's about being a founder, CEO, and a mom. So much of what we hear from the CEOs out there is about scaling companies, but rarely do we hear the other side, the family side. So today I'm asking Amanda to share her incredible story as a unicorn founder, female tech founder, and how she fit in being a mom and then came out the other side to found yet another company. Welcome, Amanda.
It's so great to be here. Thank you for having me, Alice. Great to see you again after so many years.
After so many years. And I thank you so much for coming on the show. I've been a huge fan of yours for such a long time and really happy to share your story with all of our listeners. So before I take you back in time, though, to share how you grew your companies, tell us a little bit about One Mind. It's so exciting what you're doing. And share a little bit about Mindy, please.
Yeah. So we are creating what I'd like to call go-to-market superhumans. So it is a photoreal face, voice, and a go-to-market brain that can do the thing a human does. So it's not a chatbot. So think of it as a human-like interaction, AI that has empathy, looks like a human, talks like a human, can share slides, can give demos, can uncover the pain and the impact of the buyer, and in real time have instant recall to bring in that case study and that video that will drive them forward to show exactly where they are in that sales process. What is it that they need to move them to close? She asks the hard questions that salespeople sometimes are afraid to ask. In conversations, she can operate from anything from an inbound on your website to qualify to pitch, but not just qualify, because most inbound chat agents are just qualifying. She's pitching, she's giving the demo, she's answering the technical questions. She can be a ride-along sales engineer, join calls, be in passive mode, wait to be called upon and answer the hard technical questions. She can be an onboarder to help you onboard your customers as a CSM. All the way through to support. So I like to think of it as, humans have like limited capacity, limited recall, limited time. We have all the best of intentions, but we just aren't able to be always on 24/7. So we're building go-to-market superhumans for B2B, and we're super excited and have had some pretty phenomenal traction and customer love in the last year or so.
Absolutely. So follow Amanda on LinkedIn because she's posting some of the fun things that Mindy's doing. Like they had a contest the other day between Mindy and a live BDR, right? Am I saying that right? And to see whether Mindy would win. And of course we all had our bets in, but that was really fun because Mindy did an amazing job.
Yeah, she was up against our head of sales actually versus a BDR.
Oh.
And yeah, so it was our head of sales versus Mindy. And what some of my favorite moments is asking our head of sales, what does Mindy do better? And asking Mindy, what does our head of sales do better? And both of them would say Mindy's ability to have that instant recall, to be able to share the slides, keep the conversation going. Katie, our head of sales, she can dive in and do, understand, have a little bit more empathy, understand the buyer, the human aspect. So I'm not saying we're not replacing humans fully yet,
Right.
because there are still things that humans do well, do better than AI, and there are things that AI can do exponentially better than humans.
Well, absolutely. And I think it's just important, while we're on the topic of AI for a minute, because it's just everywhere all the time, every day. I really feel like people should start to look at AI as a partner versus a replacement. I think there are some jobs that are certainly going to be replaced. We're not there yet, but if you look at AI as a partner, how much more can you get done? How much more productive can you be? How much more brilliant can you be?
Yeah, I'm going to be a little spicy here, and slightly disagree that I think we're actually doing people a disservice by saying it's not replacing jobs, because it truly is. I do truly believe we are just at the beginning, and we are seeing, some jobs be replaced. It can act as a partner as well. It can, definitely in the sales process when she's the sales engineer, but that sales engineer job might not be around anymore when she can give the demo and the custom demo in real time, answer those hard questions, never miss a beat. So there are places where we do really need to think about reskilling and retooling and saying that, okay, what is the job I have today? What are the tasks that I do within my job? And which of those are going to be replaced today? And which are the jobs that are going to be replaced in 18 months from now? Because it's only getting better and better.
Yeah, it's a really good way to look at it. And I do agree with you. Eventually, right? Some of these, it could be sooner than later, but each human should look at their job, like you said, and decide, oh gosh, so what can I do that really adds value that the AI is not going to be able to do, and reskill in that area, or retool whatever needs to be done. So I love that approach. Okay, so let's go back. And I actually am not just going to take you back to the beginning of One Mind, because I think this story just flows into it, especially the part about being a mom is so important. Let's go back to Sixth Sense. What were you doing right before you co founded Sixth Sense? And how did you get that idea to do that?
Yeah, yeah. The founding story of Six Sense, I always say I never sought out to be a venture-backed CEO. I started my first company when I was 21. So my first company was a services business. It was a lifestyle business. My first job out of college, I was working for a company that got bought by Forrester. So I was doing tech. I was writing about tech. So that's when I fell in love with tech. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Built a practice, did really well, asked for a raise. They said I had to wait a year. And I was like, no, I'm going to go out and start my own company and do my own thing. I've got these relationships. So that's when I started my first company, when I was 21. That company went on for 16 years, and some of our customers were HP, Cisco, Intel, lots of big enterprise companies. And we were basically doing big data before it was a thing. So we were pulling together structured and unstructured data across sales, marketing, customer success, call centers, and analyzing it and doing backward analytics. And I thought to myself, while we were making a lot of money and it was doing well, I didn't feel like I was moving the needle and helping the business progress. So I had a thesis. Instead of looking back on data, could we use those same signals of data and predict the future? Could I look at companies that purchase from Cisco, and when somebody else exhibits the same pattern, could I predict they too were in market for routers or switches, wireless, et cetera? And several years later, it was actually like kind of a side road project for a while. We were able to predict with an 80% accuracy. And at that time, I said, oh shit, I need to purpose build software to do just this. So that's when I went out and sought venture funding, had 60 some meetings down Sand Hill Road to get our first round of funding for Six Sense. It was a slog. And I think if somebody told me how hard that would have been, I never would have done it. Right.
You're
So
not the first founder I've ever heard say that, by the way.
but it also now, as a second time founder, I know how hard it is, but I also know what I need. And there was no playbook in 2012
No.
for, enterprise B2B SaaS. We had a few companies to look to. The model was like Salesforce, right? So it weren't like these thousands of companies popping up and this is how you hire and this is how you build product and this is how you build teams. And there weren't blogs to go read and podcasts to listen to. Those tools weren't there at the time. So that was the Six Sense story, merged together with a YC-backed technical founders who are still in the seat today. And to be honest, if I had to say why Six Sense is so successful, I would point to them. They're some of the smartest human beings, humble, business savvy I've ever met. I hit the, co-founder lottery, if you will, with my co-founders at Six Sense. And we built what was the best product on the market.
Absolutely, no doubt about that. Now, before we leave Sixth Sense for a minute, talk a little bit about how, as CEO, you grew your sales organization into what it became before you left.
Honestly, that's one of the places I made a lot of mistakes. If I'm being like really honest, in the early days of Six Sense, I thought the model was this is like so obvious that it was wrong. Now that I'm about to say this, everyone who's listening is gonna be like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But in 2012 and 2013, you may not have said that. But I thought, oh, let me go hire an enterprise executive from Salesforce to run my sales team. Right? Like that person had all the tools, all the enablement, all the documentation, all the product marketing, all of the processes in place. And I'm saying to that person, hey, come in and I need you to go run, Six Sense and start from scratch with nothing. So, in the early days of Six Sense, I think, for better or worse, I was carrying a lot of our sales on my personal back and my relationships. Um, and that was one of the reasons why I chose to step down and step aside, was like, let's bring somebody in who can help me scale this and build that go-to-market organization. And the new team has done an incredible job. So like, the founder bringing on most of the sales is not a scalable solution, but I knew we had the best product on the market. And, it's just one of those personal reflections that it's time for help.
Yeah.
And also I wanted to focus on some personal things as well.
Don't feel bad about that, because you are not, believe it or not, the only founder that thought the same thing. Oh my gosh, let me go get somebody who's been doing this at like some big enterprise, and they'll know how to do it and they'll know how to help me start it up. But yeah, of course, that doesn't work that way. And most founders do end up carrying, right, the sales in the beginning. So actually, it sounds like you did, pretty good there, and you got it a long way. And then you're like, hey, I don't know what I don't know about building a TTM team. So let's get somebody in here who does. I love that you were able to do that. So fantastic. All right. So you did end up leaving Six Sense. And let's talk about that, because this is the part where, it's the family side of things. Like, so tell us what happened. And I know it was a lot of different things that came together, but I know one of them was you were trying to get pregnant for a while.
Yeah, I'm an open book. So something about myself is, this may be rare on a business podcast to be talking about the family dynamics, but as a woman and as a leader, like we have to balance a lot of things in life. And I had been trying to get pregnant almost my entire tenure at Six Sense. So I had gone through 8 rounds of IVF. I had multiple miscarriages. I had multiple doctors tell me that you're not having a biological child. Like, I mourned the fact that I was not going to have a biological child. But I'm also somebody that, tell me I can't and let me prove you wrong. Right. So, kind of the people who know me well know that I love it when people don't believe in me or don't think I can do something. Cause I'm like, thanks for that extra motivation, and I get a lot of that, right? Like people thinking that, oh, it's not possible. And I just use that to fuel my fire. And this was one of those examples. So, as I was mentioning, from the sales perspective, I brought in a new CEO who brought an incredible go-to-market team. I got to sit and watch what he did, which is what I'm carrying towards, forward with OneMind. The go-to-market team I have in place right now at OneMind is the best of the best. And my head of sales, she's hungry, she's curious, she has something to prove. She's got that fire in her belly. She comes prepared to every meeting like I've never seen. She's putting the process in place. She's not somebody who's been there, done that at this level, but she will. And she's going to go be the one who says, just like the Databricks CRO, I love his story of zero to, billions, that he was there from zero. And I want that for her as well. And I know she'll do it. I know she has the capability to do this, and to give her the platform to succeed is what makes me so happy. I'm doing this now less for myself, but more so for, truly believe, like, giving other people the opportunity to shine, and not making the same mistakes I made at Six Sense. So yeah, back to my baby story. So I took the time off, got my cortisol levels down. So
Yeah, but I'm going to stop there for 1 second, because everybody who's listening, male or female, doesn't matter, right? If you're trying to have babies and you living in a very stressed environment, there's lots of research out there just saying Amanda is not the only one, right? These cortisol levels are going to make it difficult. Plus, even if you're maybe over 30 now trying to get pregnant, right? It's not easy. And you've got to recognize that these cortisol levels make a difference.
100%. If you take away anything from this podcast right now, if you are over 30, if you're 35, the research shows that your eggs take a nosedive of how many viable eggs you have
Right.
to create a baby. And so all go freeze your eggs. If you haven't found the partner or found the perfect scenario or in the perfect financial spot to have a kid, please go freeze your eggs. I've told my friends, so something I've done for friends is like, let me pay for it for you. I know it can be expensive. There is nothing nothing else matters now that I have children. As much as I love One Mind and I will go to the ends of the earth for One Mind, like nothing else matters. And the light you put it puts it all into perspective. And if you have any inkling to wanting to have a child, do what it takes. And if that means stepping down, leaving your company, if that means, taking time off, taking a year off, taking a sabbatical, whatever it is, please do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So you're going through trying to get pregnant, and you're realizing it's not working. And like you said, there were a few other reasons too. And the
Sure.
timing was good. You were able to step down and you weren't working at all then and just working on a family. Tell us a little bit about that part and how that went. Cause that was, you said like almost 8 years, right? Of trying.
Yeah, and there were most of the years were at Six Sense. So I was trying while I was at Six Sense and while I was running the company, and I had tried with some exes. So those, if you're listening out there, thanks for trying with me. And then, but realizing that I think I was in this relationship for the wrong reason. I think I was in it because I really wanted a kid, not necessarily because you were my person. So yeah, I left, and then I had two doctors tell me, no, you're approaching 40. You're 40. I think I was 40 when I left, and like you're done, like go down the adoption path. And so I did. So I went down the adoption path, and actually a little story on that one as well, but went down the adoption path, went to a third doctor who said, I'll take your case. And most don't take your case, because the reason why these doctors aren't taking my case is because just like we are in B2B sales and marketing, they're all optimizing for their numbers, and I am not going to help their numbers because the
Right.
likelihood is low. So they don't take my case. But I did have a doctor at Spring Fertility, which I highly recommend. Monica Pasternak, she's amazing. And she said, I'll take your case, but you're like 0.001% chance to have a biological child. And I was like, okay, so you're saying I've got a shot. So,
Yeah. Right. That's right. You
right,
have a shot.
I have a shot. So I did 3 more rounds of IVF. And each time I had 3 eggs. The likelihood of any one of those 3 being a viable egg was like 0.00001% chance. And on my third round, I actually was parallel tracking adoption. And as a single woman going down the adoption path, most adoption agencies are very religious, and I didn't meet the monogamous couple criteria. So I had to create my own marketing funnel. So I optimized my website. I did pay-per-click ads in Google, and I was paying like an exorbitant amount of money to come up at the top when somebody types in how to give my baby up for adoption. So I would come up on the first page in the first 3 results.
Wow.
And I had my own lead funnel. I had, on average, 10 women reach out to me a week telling me like, hey, who are you? And I had my own website that talked about myself, my story, my journey, what I could provide for the child. So I created my own lead funnel and said, forget the agencies. Got a lawyer on the other side so that when one does come through. And then that's when I got, I had multiple women who said they were going to give their children to me, but unfortunately, there is a big scam out there that they say they're going to, but you can't buy a child. So you pay all their medical bills, and then they have the baby and they say, oh, changed my mind, and you don't have any recourse, which is fine. I looked at that as, if these women are that desperate that they needed my money in that way, that's my charity to them, that they have to lie to me. And I was doing the best I could to not get attached to any one
Right.
of them. So I get a call about my daughter, which became my daughter, that there's a baby in Philadelphia if you want her. The mom left her in the hospital, and she said, Amanda, go get her. And actually, this was not one of the women that I was supporting. So she had told me earlier that she had chosen me, but then had basically gone dark. So I got on the red eye, went to go get my daughter, Fiona, pick her up from the hospital. And I was supposed to extract my eggs the next day of my third cycle of IVF. And I called my doctor, and she said, just forget it. You have like 3 eggs. Like, we'll just do another cycle another day. And there was something in me that said, no, this isn't right. I need to go extract these eggs. So I left Fiona illegally in a hospital, in an Airbnb with my best friend in Philadelphia. I flew on the red eye back to San Francisco, extracted my eggs that day, flew on a 9 a.m. flight back to Philadelphia. After 9 cycles of IVF, that egg on that day, the same day as I got my adopted daughter, turned into my second daughter, Gia. So their cells both entered the earth within 24 hours of each other after a 9-year journey. And I'll give you one more piece of like chills.
Magic.
It's like there's a power greater than ourselves out there.
Absolutely.
I'm not religious, but I'm very spiritual. And I do believe there's an energy and a power, and that I believe these two children, they're thick as thieves. I know that they chose each other and said,
So they're 9 months apart, right? I mean,
no, actually, I left the eggs. I had my adopted daughter and like kind of left them on ice for a while. So they're actually 2 years apart. Ended up having a surrogate carry for me because as a single mom, I didn't want to, it wasn't that I couldn't. So, people will judge me for this, and I'm an open book about this as well. It wasn't that I couldn't carry, as I just didn't want to while having another baby at home and trying to manage it all. So I said, let me have somebody else carry the child for me. I really didn't think it was going to take. So when the doctor said it took, and I was like, wait, what? There's a baby in there? I don't believe this. But the one more
piece. So they ended up being 2 years apart.
They ended up being 2 years apart.
Okay,
so
beautiful.
When I chose the sperm for my daughter, for Gia, who's my biological, I chose that 2 years prior. And I happened to choose black sperm. And my daughter, my oldest daughter, who is adopted, is black. So I had no idea I was going to adopt a black child. So Gia is mixed with myself and this black sperm. So we say that we're a little, rainbow ice cream sundae. We've got chocolate, caramel, and vanilla. So we always say like Fiona and a mommy created Gia to make us all like connected together. So that too is like, you can't make that shit up.
That's lovely. I mean, it's giving me chills, Amanda.
Yeah. I feel so blessed. And they are best of friends. They chose each other for sure. They sleep on top of each other, hugging like this, like every night. It is the cutest thing.
And I love all the pictures on Instagram. I mean, it's just, they're just such beautiful children and so fun. You guys have so much fun together. All right. So now you've got 2 kids. Where did this idea for One Mind come in? And how did you decide to, okay, I've got these kids. I think I'm pretty good with this. I'm going to start this company. Or did it just like overcome you and you like, I have to start this company?
No, I actually was on the bench when I wasn't looking. I always said I would come off if something met 3 key criteria. This company approached me. They had been building the technology for many years in a lab. So it came out of an AI labs company. They approached me. They said, we have this technology. We're looking for a CEO, somebody to spin this off and turn this into a vertical, create the vertical home for it. There were a lot of use cases. So we could have used this for HR. I could have used this for healthcare, tons of use cases with this technology. And as I looked at many of them, I was like, ooh, that's not me. Like I am not getting into a new vertical that I don't know. But very quickly I said, oh shit, can this be a salesperson? I was like, can this jump in and answer hard technical questions? And can this sell? Can this be on a website and sell? And instead of people having to navigate to content, could take them to the right answer and really do what we ask our best sellers to do, to like uncover the pain, uncover that, do the challenger selling and bring forward like the impact of what the solution. And when I got to yes, I was like, okay, I can get excited about this. And I also wanted to do something. I mean, of course, in this generative AI wave, it had to be in that world. Like, how exciting is this time?
Yeah.
How exciting are we all to build a company that's AI first? Like, I worry about the systems of record. I worry about my past company. I hope they're going to do great. But those companies, are built on an older technology. I remember saying that in the early days of 6 Sense, because we were AI at 6 Sense in the early, we were using it, machine learning and NLP, and like those are all of our models are based on that. So I love being at the forefront of technology, and I love the opportunity to have people say no to me to create something that people reject. And every time somebody rejects One Mind, I get a little bit excited inside, because you think of a point solution and an incremental solution, everyone's going to say yes to it. Makes sense. Like, oh yeah, we can add that. That's not a category. That's not a new category, right? So what's a new category is when you do have a lot of people say, ew, I'm not sure. Like, that's too much. That's going too far. I'm not ready to get in a stranger's car in an Uber, right? Like most people, I was an F no to that. Like, no way. I was never going to rent out my house to a stranger. And now I do all of those things, right? We do them because the benefits outweigh the ick. And so I was really excited. So I said yes. came on board, and we are off to the races like I've
Oh
never
my
seen
gosh.
before.
No kidding. So, all right, what year was that when they approached you? And then how long did it take you to say yes?
That it took me probably 4 months to say yes. To be honest, I brought in some of my closest advisors, my co-founders at Six Sense, to look at it from a technology perspective, looked at the business perspective, some VC friends of mine to say, do I have something here? So a few months to say yes. That was about a year and a half ago. So we got funding just under a year ago, our first round of funding. Um, Doing really well, might soon be raising again at some point, not yet. We're not raising now, but we're priming up for it. We've got some great traction with some incredible enterprise logos that are seeing some ridiculous results. So pretty excited about what the future holds for us.
Okay, and this time you knew a bit more about building a GTM team, right? And you found this incredible sales leader. So just walk us through that a little bit. So you're talking to a lot of people and decide, yes, I'm going to do it. Did you already have your sales leader in mind at that moment, or did that come a little bit later? And then how did you start building it? Because I mean, it's still so new, but
Yeah. No, actually, to be completely honest, I wanted to get to a certain milestone myself before I hired any salespeople. But when the best of the best comes to you and says that that they want to join this, you find a place for them. It's another lesson I learned. It's not, so I wasn't hiring for a head of sales. So when Katie came to me, she said, I see what you're doing. I want to be a part of this. She was at Six Sense prior. She was running a team and was a top performer her entire career. Not only a top performer, but everybody just loves her. Like every customer, prospect, colleague that works with her, she just builds these deep relationships and has this ability to connect with people like something I've never seen before. And when she came to me and said, I really want to do this with you, I like called my lead investor and I was like, I know we don't have a head of sales like right now that we're hiring for, but let's bring her on. So you make a spot. Best decision of my life, like hands down. One, these people have worked with me in the past. Two, they get excited, right, about what we're doing and that this technology is on the forefront. Like it's not perfect. Does she sometimes like not speak for a second, and have a glitch? Yeah, but is it one millionth of less, fewer times than a human would have a glitch? Like for example, I was presenting in a meeting yesterday on site with a prospect, and I just felt off. I was like, just wasn't on my A game. I got off the phone and I called Katie because she was on the Zoom and I was in person. I was like, I was off. I was not on my game. And she's like, well, she made me feel better, but that's what she's going to do, right? Because she works for me. And so I know she's not lying to me, but, I was like, But Mindy, with her off is like, she might take one more second to respond versus being instant with the slide. We expect the bar for AI is so much higher than the bar for a human, right? Like
yeah.
if she's not like answering the question instantly and showing the slide, because if you asked me a question and I started to uncover something on a call and we started to go down a path and I'm like, oh shoot, I would love to show you that case study or show you that technical
Right.
architecture diagram. But I couldn't do it because then I'd have to go into my sales enablement docs, look for it, and then bring it in, and I can't carry on the conversation. So as humans, we don't have instant recall. We can't bring something into a conversation, but Mindy can. And so, our frustrations with Mindy is when she doesn't do it exactly right then, right? But you should have seen her a year ago. She took like 7 seconds to respond, but I knew it's getting better every day, right? And so as technology catches up, she's getting faster, she's getting less expensive, and she's already incredibly accurate. So like, I love the question when people ask me if she hallucinates, because my question back is, do your salespeople hallucinate?
Exactly. Do your salespeople sell things that you don't have? Do your salespeople say
Yeah.
things that, aren't you wish they wouldn't say? Yeah,
And
they
they're
do.
doing it nefariously, right? They know they're doing it.
Right.
Mindy's just doing it because, and Mindy doesn't do, like, we have her on it's a combination of deterministic with generative. So it's not fully generative, right? So she's doing it, if she does it once, she's never going to do it again. I can't promise that of your humans. And the likelihood that she would do it is like one millionth of what a human.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Absolutely. All right. So we're getting close to winding up here, but I want you to just say what you're most excited about that's happening next at One Mind.
What am I most excited about? I am most excited. We're launching so many customers right now. So I am excited for give me a month and I'm going to be able to point you to like 20 different websites to go talk to like different superhumans selling some of the hottest tech products out there. And not just tech, but enterprise as well. We've got some really big enterprise customers that, sell some older school industry products. So that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited for everybody to experience it and to see what the future looks like and
Yeah.
watch
Well,
the revenue grow. So you're not only cutting costs on humans, but we have impact on bottom and top line, which is what really got me off the bench, because I was like, oh shit, this helps companies grow and cut costs. Like usually you have one or the other, right? Like we're doing both.
yeah. And that is truly amazing. I've had the opportunity to talk to Mindy. I've had the opportunity to talk to and let me ask you, what do we call that? Your avatar, or like
We call them
your
superhumans.
you call them superhumans. Okay.
Yeah.
So I've had an opportunity to talk to your superhuman, and my good friend Jocko Vanderkoy. He also built one with one mind, and I had a lovely conversation with his superhuman as well. So that was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, his superhuman is called Jack. He drinks a lot of, like Jocko drinks a lot of Red Bull. You can find his superhuman on winningbydesign.com, and you just scroll to the bottom of the page. They're moving it up soon. Hopefully we see it higher up on the page, but we're doing some testing first. And now that it's working, she and he have to earn the right for that prime real estate. And we're earning that right.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'll keep my eye out for that. So before we go, I have 3 quick questions for you. The first one is, what's a book that you believe every CEO should read?
This is going to sound crazy because it actually has nothing to do with sales, even though it's called The Greatest Salesman in the World. So Og Mandino, and have you heard of Greatest Salesman in the World,
Yeah,
Alice?
yeah.
Yeah, I just love it. Like it's 10 different scrolls that you read over the 30 days, and it just like sets those practices in place. I'm a big manifester person, and putting energy with positive emotion and positive intention, and it's just kind of setting the framework for how I want to show up every day and how I want to create the things that I want in this world, and to do it with humility and grace and kindness and love. And like one of the first ones is, I will greet this day with love in my heart. And that, I started this, the first time I read The Greatest Salesman in the World was, it's probably 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And I'm due for another round of it, but it's still with me to this day.
Yeah, I love those books that we read over and over again. They're super powerful. So thank you for sharing that one. And then my next question is, what's a podcast that you listen to that makes you think differently? It doesn't have to be a business podcast, but just something you really get to thinking about things.
One of my favorite investors, who transparently passed on me, which is fine, is Mike Maples, from Floodgate. And he does a podcast, and he wrote a book recently called Pattern Breakers. And I love it. I love all of the contrarian, it's where I get my, when somebody tells me no, I get excited, because that means I'm creating a category. And he brings on great founders and entrepreneurs that, have been through hard times, and to tell the real story. It's raw, it's real, it's got great little snippets and advice. And I just love Mike. I think he's amazing.
Yeah, I haven't listened to that one, so I'm definitely going to get that onto my list. All right, last question. I know you're going to have a strong statement here, and I want you to. What does every CEO need to know to win in this market?
I don't know. So that's what I would start with, being honest with yourself of what you don't know, and listening. And I know it sounds so cliche to say, but in my earlier days at Sixth Sense, if I'm being honest, kind of thought I knew everything. I was a bull in a china shop. I was pretty full of myself. I had a lot of ego, a lot of confidence in myself, which got me through the night. But I don't think it's how to build the best companies in the best categories. And today it's all about, what did they not say? And really listening for those gaps in between, and then adjusting, but not adjusting too fast, but doing it thoughtfully. Sometimes I would adjust too fast, and so that's something else. As you can tell, I'm a fast talker, I'm a fast thinker. I'm moving, but in the pace of this world, and with technology moving as fast as it is, we also have to be measured.
Yeah, thank you for that. And thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show today and sharing your personal story as well. I know that our listeners will really appreciate that. And you've done some amazing things. You continue to do amazing things. I'm keeping my eye on you. So thanks again for
Alice.
being on the show.
It was amazing. Thank you. Great to see you again, and best of luck to you as well.
If you enjoyed the show, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.